Hey there, you're listening to College Conversations, a podcast where two college guys talk about anything that comes to their minds. I'm Jake.
And I'm Chase. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the episode.
Hey guys, quick disclaimer here. Chase's microphone recorded some weird clicks throughout the session. We aren't sure why this happened, and we couldn't get rid of them. They aren't that bad, just wanted to let you know. Alright, back to the podcast.
Today's episode is over movies and streaming services, the differences between them, the rise and fall of one or the other, and
A lot about Disney Plus today, I'm sure, because that's mostly what we've consumed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and there's lots of opinions about this out there.
I personally don't like streaming services. I prefer movies.
Yeah, and I watch a lot of Disney Plus, so...
And what's your take? Would you rather streaming services or movies?
I don't know. There's different parts to both of them. You
Yeah,
know?
I should say by streaming services, we kind of mean episodal shows, not like movies on streaming services. That's fine. I just mean like all these new shows that are coming out, but they're shows and they're episodic and they're not
we're mainly
like a 2.5 hour movie.
We're mainly talking about like the Marvel and Star Wars TV shows that have come out, in contrast to the Marvel and Star Wars movies.
Those are some of the biggest examples of them.
Yeah.
Or at least that we care about.
Yeah. Those are the ones that we know about, really. You know, I've watched basically all of the new... Well, I say basically. I think I have watched all of the new Marvel and Star Wars TV show content, like all the new stuff they've put out since Disney Plus started, pretty much. And you were quite the opposite, right?
Yeah, I for whatever reason, I find it hard to watch these shows. It's weird because I can watch anime just fine, but when it comes to like these TV shows, I'm like, I have such hesitancy.
I don't get it. Like
I don't either.
It doesn't seem like, for you at least, doesn't seem like it's a TV show format issue. Like you can watch episodal things like anime.
I think it's specifically with these shows. Like I'm used to Star Wars and Marvel being in movies.
Is it just the context of Star Wars and Marvel?
That's my guess.
As to why you're not into it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I don't get it.
So what's the verdict between the Marvel movies and shows and the Star Wars movies and shows?
If you're asking me to just pick between them, it's going to be the movies every time. Just because
well, I guess that's where the classics are.
Yeah, and that's kind of a loaded question. It all comes from the movies anyways. So
yeah, where the storylines are based off of.
Yeah, but I would say that all the TV show content that is associated with those franchises is still worth watching, and something that really does actually further the continuity and expand and explore new ideas that a movie could not explore on its own. You know, with both Star Wars and Marvel, I've watched all of the new stuff, and some of it's bad, some of it's good, but there's a lot of more, I would say, experimentation with format and genre and things like that you wouldn't be able to do on the movie scale with both of those franchises.
I will say that is a pro of these TV shows is that you can get a lot more time of content in. You can get a lot more content period.
Like more minutes.
Yeah, Percy Jackson has really utilized this to its full extent. I think they did a really good job choosing a TV show over another movie. Because the first of the original Percy Jackson movie was pretty good. And then the second was a dumpster fire, in my personal opinion. Because they just smushed books 2 through 5 into one movie, and it was terrible.
Well, anyone who knows me knows that I'm opposed to reading, so I haven't read the Percy Jackson books. So
my point is with this new Percy Jackson series on Disney Plus, I think it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I haven't watched it. So.
they've actually been able to go through each of the events with this, and the first season was book one. So they were able to take a full season of TV shows to go through all the details of book one and add some other stuff in, obviously. So it's not
Yeah.
the exact same thing, but
Yeah.
they're going to do the same thing with season two. It's going to be book two. And I
Okay.
think that's a much better way to do book to movie / TV show translations, because
Yeah.
it allows the
The screen time necessary to get
Yes.
all of the book material in there.
right, because there's a lot of dialogue and things that are in the book that movies cannot show. It's like all the stuff that is describing the world around them and whatnot that you can't really show in a TV in a movie.
You can to
So
some
it's like-
extent, but
Yeah, it's not
to the
near
detail
as
that the
effective.
book has, for sure.
in a movie as the TV shows. Yeah. So I definitely think that's a plus of the TV shows. The cons come with things like some of the Marvel shows. The problem with the Marvel TV shows, I feel, is that Marvel is so CGI heavy. I mean, especially with characters like Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch, everything they're doing is CGI. And to keep your watchers entertained, you have to have a lot of content, even in each episode. And that does put a lot of strain on all of the creators of the show, all the animators and the designers and CGI artists and whatnot.
Yeah.
That was a big problem with the whole movie strike, was that people just were working in terrible conditions, and then you pump out shows like She-Hulk that everyone hated because the CGI was just so bad and the storyline was just rushed.
Yeah. And this gets into, I think, a larger problem with modern Marvel that I'd want to touch on, is that they've really kind of like sunk their teeth into the quantity over quality version of things. They're pumping out so much stuff, and it's like you said, it's pretty well known that they're like the artists that are working on these movies, especially the visual effects people, are like being rushed along from project to project to project, being rushed to finish things. And because of that, the movies have started looking worse and worse and worse as they keep going through. Like, there's just not enough time to do the work needed to make it look right. A lot of it looks pretty jank. There's plenty of like videos on YouTube of like comparing scenes from other franchises that have much better looking effects to Marvel, and how there's like so many examples of Marvel just like really dropping the ball with how things look and how it doesn't look
So
right
many
at all.
memes.
Yeah, there's a lot of content about that specific issue. And it really, like, since they've really started launching Disney Plus a while back, they've really they've amped up the content, and a good chunk of it is like really half baked, I would say. It's just not enough. I think all of the ideas are really cool that they have and are worth exploring. They tried to do all of it way too quickly and didn't get it going with the proper effort and energy required to really fulfill all of the ideas. Like, if you look at all of the TV shows on just Marvel TV shows on Disney Plus, like, all of them could be really cool. I think all of them could have good ideas, or they had good ideas. They could be so much better than what they are right now.
I think it depends. There are definitely some shows that really benefit from this format, like Loki is one of them. WandaVision is another.
Yeah.
Kind of the long story arc, the shows that have their own arcs in the universe. There are some shows that I feel would just be more enjoyable with a faster paced movie.
Yeah. You think so?
I think it's needed for a lot of shows, because there's a lot of times when in the movies you feel like, okay, this movie was so long and I just, you sat through that 2.5 hour movie or however long it was, and you're just thinking the pacing is so slow, and the payoff wasn't that great. And those are the kinds of shows I think that really benefit from the TV show format, is the ones that can really take the time to go through and detail a lot of their story out and get a lot of minor inconvenience here, major villain spoil here, and then the final battle at the end. And then there are some movies or some TV shows where you think, okay, nothing has been happening for like 4 episodes. We've been on filler episodes, and
Yeah.
it really could just benefit from a shorter form content like a movie where everything happens in one session.
Which ones are you thinking about when you're thinking about going from TV show to movie?
Well, first off, I think shows like anything to do with the full Avengers team should be movies. Like I think when they announced Avengers Secret Invasion and King Dynasty, were those not like Avengers?
Those are movies.
You said Secret Wars was a TV
No,
show.
no, you've got this confused. There are two different Marvel projects that have similar names. Secret Invasion is a TV show,
Oh,
and
Secret Invasion
Wars,
versus Secret Wars.
yeah,
Gotcha.
it's something else. And I think they might have changed the name from Secret Wars to something else to avoid that issue that you had of having them both confused in your mind. Yeah, Secret Invasion is a TV show that came out, and it was pretty underwhelming, very underbaked, and didn't have a lot to say, about it. One that did drag on a while, didn't really get to the point very, very quickly, and didn't do it in a nice way. Now, see, I'm not opposed to shows taking a while to do things. There's actually a show that I really enjoyed that did that, and we'll get to that in a second. But this show specifically, Secret Invasion, I felt really like stumbled on the pacing, like you said, and might have benefited from being a movie instead, with a shorter runtime, cleaning up, like trimming the fat, changing. And that's not the only issue with Secret Invasion, but that's something that I think could be fixed with doing that. Like, another big issue is the ending is really bad to Secret Invasion. Anyone who's seen the ending to that, or hasn't, I'm just letting you know, it's bad. You should watch it.
Underwhelming.
Yeah, you should watch it just to like kind of see what I'm talking about. It's not underwhelming. It's like it just goes off the rails so quick and doesn't have any care for like what the implications are for what it just happened. It's just like the ending to Secret Invasion seems like a culmination of all of the issues that we've talked about so far. Like it has bad VFX, poor pacing, not planned out enough, rushed from the end of this to the beginning of something else. Like it's riddled with all the stuff we've talked about so far that's wrong with the new format. So go watch it if you haven't, just to kind of experience what we're talking about, because I know you haven't watched it. Right? You should watch it just to kind of see what it's about. I think it's 6 episodes. It's not a super long show. So you could knock it out in a weekend, just to see what I'm talking about. And then there's another issue that I've heard people talk about. I want to get your opinion on this because I'm kind of divided on how to feel about this one. A lot of people are kind of upset that the new direction of the MCU specifically is kind of hinging on the TV shows. Like you knowing what happens in the TV shows for you to understand what's happening in the movies. The best example of this is the new movie, The Marvels, which in order to understand what's happening in the Marvels, you have to have watched WandaVision, Miss Marvel, Secret Invasion, and Captain Marvel, of course. Before that, that's a movie, but this is a sequel to Captain Marvel. But I think those 3, maybe another TV show, but at least 3 separate Marvel TV shows are mandatory to understand what the heck is actually happening in these. And some people are upset about that. I don't quite know how to feel. How do you feel about that?
I'm leaning more towards agreeing with them. The reason being another of the biggest issues I have with all of these streaming services is the idea of subscription-based content.
Yeah.
I'm such a big hater of subscription-based content. And not because of the idea of subscription-based content itself, but because where we are right now is totally abusing it. There are some things, I think the Adobe products are one that definitely have made themselves known and are worth having a subscription-based content form for. TV shows, I have a hard time with it because so many different shows are held on so many different streaming platforms. I mean, you have Netflix, Paramount, Hulu, Disney Plus,
Amazon, Apple,
Apple
like,
TV.
yeah,
It's like
there's a bunch of them.
there's too many for them all to be separate streaming platforms and for them all to be like 15, $20 a month.
Yeah.
Like, it's a huge cash grab. And that's my biggest issue with it, is because it's kind of prohibitive in that, if, say I'm paying for Netflix and I want to keep up with the MCU. Well, before I could do that because, you just go watch it in theaters or rent it on Redbox or pick up a DVD. But now, even after it's released, there is really no option to watch it unless you also buy Disney Plus or steal your friend's Disney Plus password.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that I am agreeing on. I don't like that these streaming services are so, I can't think of the word, not prohibitive, but they're so separated from each other. Like there's no continuity between them, and a lot of different shows are held by a lot of different streaming services. You kind of have to pick and choose which shows you want to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a larger issue that we're talking about here, bringing in the whole idea of streaming services and subscriptions. And subscriptions go beyond just like media. They go to other things too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, one that's relevant to me at least is that certain DAWs are certain DAWs are subscription only and certain DAWs are not. Some people really don't like that,
That's one that I have a little bit of a hard time with. I'm like, you best be delivering some like top-notch, like some products I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. But some of them I'm like, there's no reason for you to be charging that
Yeah.
much money
Yeah.
consistently.
And I think, and this is a bit of a sidetrack, but I think one of the reasons DAWs like Ableton are so popular is because they are one of the few that is no longer, or has not bitten on the subscription model yet, where you can just buy it and you have it and that sort of thing. Most of the other industry standards like Pro Tools and Logic, I think are subscriptions. People are, you can yell at me when you see me in the hallways if I'm wrong about that. But
Did you hear that? It's an
Yeah.
invitation.
yeah, that's
Go do it.
that's an invitation. Like, just walk up to me and like
Sock him
smack
in the
me
face.
or something. Yeah,
Sweep him off his feet. I'm kidding. Don't
any
do
of
that.
those. Yeah, any of those things are allowed. I'm giving you permission, but you have to listen to do it. So listen to the
Trade-off.
podcast. Yeah. Okay, back to Marvel. Back to the issue that we were talking about of like understanding for the new content being locked behind Disney Plus. I totally understand what people are getting at with not having it, like not liking having it be behind the streaming service itself. I just don't know, really.
It's difficult because they're a business. They need to make money.
Yeah,
But at the same point, or at the same time, where's the line?
yeah. And if you think about it, like, I'm gonna try my best to like flip the idea on its head. Like, because there's so much on Disney Plus now, so many TV shows, and they're continuing to put out more and more and more stuff. Like at this point, I think it's almost cheaper, honestly, because if you think about it this way,
Yeah, for
like
sure.
paying for the streaming service gets you access to a bunch of content, versus if you were to, like a movie, pay to see each one individually, it would be more expensive to do it that way. So I think that argument might have lost a bit of validity since they've started backlogging all the content. Like
That's
with
true, yeah.
with each new backlog, I mean, each new show, that argument loses a little bit of validity to me. Because at the beginning, it made total sense. There's like 3 shows, and you had to pay the same amounts. But now there's a bunch. You still pay the same amount. I think they might have gone up or whatever, but you pay the same amount, and you get all of the backlog. And so now that the backlog is there and still growing, I think it's starting to become less and less of an issue.
A lot
And
of it. Sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
A lot of it depends on how much you watch.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like, are you getting your money's worth? Because if you really don't watch a whole lot, like my family doesn't watch a whole lot of these TV shows. It's the whole reason we got rid of cable, because we just don't turn the TV on all that much.
yeah,
I don't know that it is worth it, but especially with Disney Plus primarily and Netflix second, those two are probably worth their price because of how much content they
Purely
have.
because of
Disney
the
Plus
backlog. Yeah.
because they've bought Marvel, they've bought Pixar at this point. They've
Star
bought
Wars is on there.
Yeah, they bought Star Wars. There's a lot of things that Disney has bought that they now offer on Disney Plus that I would agree that is now, it is worth buying. So for that point, and the same thing with Netflix, like a lot of the non-animated shows, I guess, or a lot of the solo shows
Yeah,
are offered on Netflix. I mean, Netflix is like the OG
yeah.
streaming service. So I think those two are worth their price. I mean, who really is Paramount Plus really worth it? Like,
My parents watch all of the dramas that are on there.
Really?
Yeah, and so they enjoy it, so it's worth it to them. But like for me, I don't watch all of the medical and like police dramas that they have on there. It's not really something that I enjoy so much. So I don't know. I think they definitely are marketing it for an older audience. Like for us, I don't think it's really something for us. I don't know. That's just my little theory about that.
yeah, and it of course always depends on the user and what their interests are. So I think in the case of Marvel and people being upset about not having to catch on, I think my ultimate answer is no, I don't agree with it. One, because of what we just said, because of the deal that you're getting with Disney Plus. You have so many shows other than Marvel. That is one of those things that is totally worth a subscription-based price. The other thing is that's also kind of just where the entertainment industry is going. So, I mean, you went from only being able to see movies in theaters to DVDs, and now we're going from DVDs to streaming services. That's
Yeah.
kind of how the movies are going. I mean, it went from VHS to DVD to now online content like streaming services. So I think that's also a big part of it is that's just how movies are going to be nowadays.
Yeah.
And that's how the media is going to be. So it's kind of a lot of us people who are not real keen on change are going to have to peel our butts off of our chairs and actually go adapt with modern society.
Yeah. And there's one more point I wanted to make about that one. If like your only argument for the original question that spawned this whole thing of like, if your only ick with that was that you had to pay for it, like, I don't quite get that, because especially with Marvel specifically, kind of the whole deal with Marvel is that it's all interconnected. Like that's a lot of the draw that it has. And so,
It's
yeah,
it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, cinematic universes out there right now.
yeah. And so, like, of course, their content is going to matter. And, depending on what corner of the MCU this new show is talking about, this new movie is talking about, like with the Marvel specifically, of course, it's going to reference the content that they've already made. That's kind of the whole point of it. So, from that standpoint, I don't agree with that gripe at all, So,
And it's convenient to have all of your shows and movies all in one place organized.
yeah, that too. That is another thing.
You're not losing DVDs
Yeah,
and
like with
finding different DVDs in different cases and
Yeah.
Blu-ray versus non-Blu-ray and
I have some family members that really are big collectors or were collectors of DVDs and Blu-rays, and now have like everything online in their like libraries within Apple or whatever, wherever they have it all. But you have that. You had the physical collection, but now it's just all on there. So like you don't have to worry about where your Empire Strikes Back DVD is because it's on Disney Plus, or where the original Avengers movie is if you want to go and watch that one again because it's a good movie. It's just on Disney Plus. You don't need to worry about any of that stuff. So that is part of the draw of streaming services in general. So
the only qualm I have about this particular part is when they decide to no longer feature certain shows.
yeah,
That's a little frustrating because if you're going to be paying a monthly subscription, you should be able to see all of them. This is a little bit of a gray area because I don't know if there's a cost in maintaining these shows on these streaming platforms. I can't think of any reason why there would be off the top of my head. But if they're going to take one off, I feel like it would be nice to have the option to download it or save it somehow. Because a lot of shows like Friends is definitely one of those where people go back and watch it. Like in The Office, they go back to the beginning and watch it. Sometimes just because they're bored and they want to watch the show again, but also for nostalgia's sake. There's a lot of old shows like Prince of Bel-Air. It's like an older show that is still pretty relevant because
people really enjoy those shows.
Yeah. And
So-
if you take them off the streaming services, a lot of these shows don't have an alternative, so they're gone forever. And
Yeah.
I think that is one of the more valid concerns with this, but again, not enough to knock me off of saying that this is fair.
Yeah, and sometimes we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. A lot of times, I feel like I think some of those things are like ownership issues and deal structures
for sure,
with the
yeah.
companies. So, that stuff happens, and we have no idea how that's actually working out. So, you never know. But I'd like to move on from this specific topic because there's a lot of really great shows that I want to talk about on Disney Plus because I've watched all of the Star Wars and Marvel ones. I want to talk about some of the ones that I liked a lot, and it's not most of them, but there are a good chunk of them that I did really enjoy. The one I alluded to earlier is Andor from Star Wars. Andor is a really awesome show because it is so different than everything else, I think. Andor is made by the same guy who made Rogue One. It's like a prequel to Rogue One in a way, in a lot of ways, but the show itself is deliberately slower than most all contents in the Star Wars universe and on Disney Plus, honestly. It really enjoys taking its time and engrossing yourself in the world building of the Star Wars universe, really, of the not so fantastical elements of it, like the all of the worlds and places that they're in are, in a way, like just real places, like people working, living, doing all that kind of stuff. It touches a lot on early stages of rebellion and oppression and things like that. And it's a really thoughtful and insightful show, I think, on how it slowly really sinks you into the world that you're in there. To kind of sum it up, it's a really good show, and you should watch it. But it's kind of long, and I really enjoyed that part about it. But some other people might not enjoy it being kind of long and taking a while. It's kind of structured in 3-episode chunks. If I remember correctly, it's 12 episodes long, each of them about 45 to an hour, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. And then every 3 episodes is like a chunk of story within. So it's like a 4-act kind of story that they're telling. So they definitely really take their time, but I really enjoyed it. So give it a try. If you think you would like that, or if you don't think you'd like it, I would still give it a try. Get through the first 3 episodes and make your judgment then. So that's my little soapbox about Andor. Andor is my favorite TV show, I think, to come out of Disney Plus so far. So go watch it.
Get through one of the arcs, and then you can one of the arcs,
get through
and then
the
you can
first
have an
arc
opinion
of 3 episodes, and then decide if you want to continue. Because if you stop,
What do you call that? The storyline? It's not an arc, because an arc would be like a season.
I don't know.
Plot line.
Yeah, the first
Rise and fall.
When I watched it as they released the first 3 episodes all as one to really make sure that you watched that first chunk, because it's one kind of complete chunk. So
Yeah.
that's one that I really liked. What's one that you liked? Because I think there's one that you liked. I can give you another one that I liked.
I don't actually know.
You haven't watched enough. Okay.
I haven't watched a whole lot of Disney Plus shows and whatnot. So, I mean, my arguments here for the TV shows is kind of weak, so I'm inherently a little biased, not because I want to be, but just because I haven't watched any of them yet.
Well,
I'll be thinking about it. What's your other show?
another show that I really liked, almost as much as Andor, but not quite, is Loki. Loki,
I've heard great things about Loki.
mostly from me, I assume, because I
No, not
I
from
wouldn't stop
you.
talking about it.
Not just from you.
Yeah.
I mean, Loki, I think, was probably one of, if not the biggest success for Marvel and their episodal thing. I mean, Loki
Yeah.
season 2 was all over the internet. I think even it has WandaVision beat. WandaVision was another huge success for the that's what mine would be, was WandaVision.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed WandaVision. They did
WandaVision's
a
really
great
great.
job with pacing and everything.
Yeah. It's a really cool and inventive show. Does a
Yeah,
lot of
it's
cool things.
different.
Yeah.
Which was something I enjoyed, and it was, again, a show that benefited from
From episodal
format.
Yeah, because they could really take it and explore something new that they wouldn't be able to do with a movie.
And, going off the rails from what we were talking about here a little bit, I think another really important part for specifically the MCU is a lot of these characters have super long and convoluted backgrounds from the comic books and everything.
Yeah.
And I think the episodal format allows them the time to really explain everything that's going on. I mean, they did a great job with WandaVision and kind of setting up in an entertaining format the context behind who the Scarlet Witch is and what the Scarlet Witch is. That also led into Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Chase is actively pulling up Disney Plus to see what he's
pulling up because
he doesn't know what
my memory is not good enough to do this on my own.
Okay, so while he's entering his pin for Disney Plus, which I could leak to the podcast right now, we'll see. I won't do that.
You couldn't and you wouldn't.
Yeah. So I'll go back to what I was talking about while Chase is opening up Disney Plus. Loki was what I was talking about. Loki is my favorite Marvel show for sure, out of all the ones that they've put out. I think Loki is like, especially season 2, is like the perfect example of the episodal form of content, like at its best on Disney Plus, I think. Both seasons, for sure, they really use the time allotted in a pretty successful way. Like there wasn't a whole lot of wasted watch time, you know? There wasn't really filler episodes or things that just didn't work out super well. Like there was some of that, but it was, I think the time was used very well all throughout. You know, you have all the different elements of a story. Like you have the plot, the writing, the directing, acting, then you have things like music and visual effects and pacing and all of these things I think came together pretty well to make a pretty unified whole in Loki season 1 and 2. Both seasons had different elements of it that were better or worse. Like one of the things that I really enjoyed about Loki season 1, and this is just because I'm kind of a nerd about this stuff, but I really enjoyed the music, especially in Loki season 1. The first season of Loki had really inventive and really like masterful film scoring and accompanying the TV show with music in really excellent ways. I felt like I loved it so much that I made a little personal project with the music and did my own thing with it for a little bit. We don't need to get into that, but it was really influential on me for a lot of reasons, and they did such a great job. The composer Natalie Holt for Loki did a really great job. If you're a music person, I think you should watch Loki and really pay attention to the music because it does so many things right, and there's a lot of great stuff in there.
And if you're not a music person, watch Loki for the show.
Yeah, the show is really great too. The music is pretty extraordinary in the first season. It wasn't quite as great in the second season, but everything else got better in the second season. So, watch both of them because they're really good.
Can't win all your battles.
Yeah, it can't be perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect thing, I don't think. A perfect show or movie. There's going to be something that's not fully up to standards, but they did a pretty well-balanced job with Loki, I would say.
I was unable to log into my Disney Plus. It's been too long. I forgot the password.
So he is out of ideas for what to...
Well, and I think WandaVision was one of the only shows that I actually did end up watching from Disney Plus. That, and I watched the first season of The Mandalorian with my dad, which...
What'd you think about that? Uh-oh, Chase is going to be divisive right now.
With the first season of Mandalorian, and this is the hardest part about these. The first season of Mandalorian was a little slow for me, and the first couple episodes of season 2. It got to the point by, I think it was like the 7th or 8th episode, where it had the same plot line for every episode. They'd be traveling, they'd get stuck or stop somewhere, find somebody with an issue, help them, new buddy made, ta-da, on their way. And it did get a little repetitive, which is the only reason why I say the first season might have been better as a movie, just for pacing's sake. But then you also have problems with, okay, well then what now? If you're preparing for a season 2, you'd have to make a second movie. So the problem with storyline starts to intervene with the logistics of movies versus TV shows. And I think that's an important part of why so many people are going towards TV shows now, is because you can do more varied story arcs and different kinds of stories that are new and interesting that you couldn't do with movies before.
Yeah. And with The Mandalorian, there's 3 seasons of The Mandalorian, just in case you didn't know that. Yeah, they made a third one. And the thing with The Mandalorian is I feel like it really evolved as it kept going. Like, The Mandalorian was one of the first things on Disney Plus, the first new things with Disney Plus.
It was one of the first incentives to go to Disney Plus.
Yeah, I think that was like one of the big sells. It was The Mandalorian, and it was pretty good. despite what Chase says about it. But
I hear good thing. I that is what I did. I did hear that it got better as it went on. I just couldn't get through the second season.
yeah,
I got through the first. The ending was actually pretty cool. Second season started, had that repetitiveness to it, and I just dropped it. But I hear it's pretty good, which is the reason
yeah,
I didn't say that it was bad, because
It's
I
pretty
believe that The
good.
Mandalorian was good.
yeah, it's
It's
good.
just I didn't get through all of it.
And to what you were saying with how TV shows can explore things, I think The Mandalorian has evolved as it's gone through its seasons to really like find really what it has to say and where it fits within the TV show format, And of course, The Mandalorian does a lot of other great things too. Like one, the music, of course. I'm gonna talk about the music. The music,
the music
is really good.
was fantastic from season 1.
Yeah, the music is great to that.
Never heard a bass recorder before that.
Yeah, really cool stuff, but doesn't have too much bearing on the show itself, so we can get rid of that now. But other things too, like it started the world building of The Mandalorian really picked up a lot into the later seasons. Like it did a lot of new and interesting things for the Star Wars universe as a whole and the little Mandalorian corner of it as well. So
I will forever call him Baby Yoda. I don't care that he has a name. I don't like it.
most people call him Baby Yoda anyways. It's fine. But Grogu,
Ugh.
does Grogu hit you like midi-chlorians does? Or
No, midi-chlorians is fine. I mean, it's a little dumb sounding, but Grogu just...
why do you hate it so much? Chase is making
I think
crazy
it's
faces
something-
at the
I think
sight
it's something
of Grogu.
that has to do with the G's. I really couldn't say. I just do not like it. And I spent so long with the Baby Yoda memes and Yoda himself, even if Yoda is his name, not the species name, Grogu was just out of nowhere. And I think for a lot of people, it was like, really? That was what you decided to name Baby Yoda? No. Baby Yoda
Grogu seems
is
fine to
Baby
me.
Yoda's name.
It felt like it fits with the species. Like,
It fits, and now I'm used to it. I just don't like it.
yeah. Okay, whatever.
Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
I'll put a poll, see what people think.
You put a poll. Can you
Yeah.
do that on Spotify?
Yeah, there's in the interactions portion, I think. you
All right,
can
everyone.
Put a poll.
Look down.
Baby Yoda v. Grogu.
Yeah. Let's see what our
It's
20
hard to
people-
say. Grogu. It's like
Grogu?
it takes a lot of effort.
I-
Baby Yoda just rolls off the tongue.
I think you're just like you're over exaggerating a lot on this. It's
We'll
not
see.
that big a deal. What'd you say?
We'll see.
Yeah, our 20 listeners are gonna vote on this.
Go vote in the poll.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting that, we were talking about the change in this is what media is now. I mean, like movies are coming out in the TV show format. This is a lot of what kids are going to be growing up with. Like, I think a lot of the nostalgia, even with our generation, like I've said this before, but we are kind of like the last of a generation. There's a lot of fuzziness here, and of course there's going to be inherent bias because I'm the one saying it.
Yeah.
But
Chase wants us
those
to
who
be important.
those who know me know that I've said this before about completely unrelated topics. I feel that we are the last, or one of the last, of a bigger of a generation chunk, because like you had the boomers and
Gen X.
Gen X, yeah,
Yeah.
who I'm gonna say they were part of the drive-in movie, going to the theater, quote unquote old timey. Please don't get offended by that.
Chase is gonna alienate so many
old-timey,
people with this one segment.
movie formats where you didn't have a DVD or Redbox, right? Like and then the next kind of segment was the VHS DVD and Blu-ray DVD things like our parents and some of the older generations, and I want to say that we are the like tail end of that section because we grew up on DVDs.
Yeah.
Like Cars and some of the Pixar movies that didn't necessarily that came out before we were born, but they were the ones that we grew
Yeah.
up on.
I loved Cars.
Cars, A Bug's Life, Toy Story.
Toy Story. What else is there? Finding Nemo.
Ice Age, Finding Nemo.
yeah.
Like all the Pixar classics, DreamWorks, like Kung Fu Panda, Shrek.
Shrek. Yep.
I don't know why people love that one so much.
Shrek is a good movie, and you cannot tell me otherwise.
I will not say that it's not a good movie. I don't prefer it, but that's a whole other topic.
Someone's not an all-star over here.
And apparently I don't like jazz because the B movie I'm also not keen on.
The B movie is its own whole ordeal. Like, that's its own.
It's its own sacrilegious entity.
Yeah.
But we definitely weren't part of the VHS era. My aunt had them at her house, and I did experience VHSs, but they were mostly out by the time that we grew up and were able to watch movies while we knew what was happening. We were kind of in between the DVD and Blu-ray eras.
But those are essentially the same thing.
Same thing, DVDs and whatnot. And so I think it's interesting that, that's what we will have grown up with. And it's like, oh, what did you grow up on? Well, I grew up on these movies, but kids nowadays, and I guess there were cable TV shows, like SpongeBob is probably one of the biggest ones.
Yeah, of our generation.
Like Ben 10. I saw there's been an Instagram. There's been a thing on Instagram stories that a lot of people have been doing, and it's like a 8x8 grid of TV shows that kids used to watch. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
And it has like Garfield, Ben 10, Powerpuff Girls.
It's got all the the 2010s cartoons.
Right, all of the good old TV shows, like genuine TV shows from the cable era. And those aside, because I'm going to lump those in with all the DVD shows and whatnot. Kids these days, when you ask them what they grow up on,
it's all going to be
they'll say
streaming
Cocomelon.
services.
No, but they'll say things like Loki and all these TV shows, and I don't know about you. I just think that's interesting. It's like the era is moving on into a new platform of
the new
media.
medium of media
Yeah.
is being marked by this change to streaming services in the same way that our childhood was marked by DVDs and Blu-rays.
I'm kind of showing my age here, but what was before VHS? Like, was there a portable at-home thing for movies, or before VHS was it genuinely in theaters only?
Now, I'm not sure, but I'm going to go ahead and say that I think VHS was one of the first commercially viable, portable movie devices, I
I'm gonna
guess.
look it up real quick.
Okay, Chase is going to look this up so that we don't alienate our family, basically.
We already have. We've already outed all of the old people.
The
Quote,
old people.
unquote, old people.
Yeah,
I'm not
quote,
calling
unquote,
you
old
old, I
people.
promise. I'm sorry.
Chase is referring to anyone 30 and above with that statement.
Basically, anyone slightly older than us.
Yeah, just slightly, I know there was other stuff before VHS, but I think VHS was the first one that really caught on and was popular and viable, Oh boy, there's a lot of pictures on Chase's computer, and neither of us really know what any of them are.
For those of you that can't, none of you can see my screen, so I'll just
For those of
explain
you who
what I'm
can't see
seeing.
what I'm seeing right now in this podcast.
There's I'm looking at an image that has a bunch of different things. It's like VHS, U-Matic 3/4 inch, Beta SP, Beta Max, VHS-C, DV Cam, Mini DV, a bunch of old stuff that I do not know what I'm looking at. VTR.
I feel like we're just going down a rabbit hole right
1950.
now.
Yeah, I'm I could do my research and figure it out, but I'm gonna go on a limb here and lump all of these things with VHS and say that things like the VHS was the first. Okay, so it looks like the Betamax was probably the first thing. So before VHS, Betamax was the first take-home media displayer thingy. I don't know what you want to call that. So
The first form of like portable media content at your home
at home, yeah.
versus going to the theaters exclusively to view media content.
One-time viewing
Yeah.
mediums. I don't know. It's interesting. End of an era, beginning of a new one, and with it, all of its terrifying technological
Yeah. What's going to come after? What's the next
advancements.
era beyond streaming services?
Holograms.
Holograms?
No, my guess, if I have to go out on a limb here, especially with the recent announcement of the Apple Vision Pro, my guess is going to be
AR stuff?
either AR or
Augmented reality?
completely VR.
Full VR or
Full. My guess is full VR. It's hard to say right now, obviously, because we're venturing into the future. But I would almost guess that. Well, I mean, you already have VR viewing platforms. Like you can watch things in VR and like have a, TV screen at home
yeah.
and whatnot, which is really cool. And especially with the introduction of the Apple Vision Pro and all of these AR goggles.
Yeah. Those seem really cool.
Meta Quest Pro, I want to say. Is Meta Quest Pro or Meta something Pro? That was their version of industrial AR goggles.
Yeah.
AR is definitely all the rage at the moment.
Wow. I mean, it's really cool. Like we see
Right.
videos
And-
of it and it's like, that's awesome. I would love that,
I would love it too, but not for $3,500. It's a little pricey.
Yeah.
But I imagine it has something to do with that. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to cross the interactive line. Like, is it just going to become interactive movie kind of thing where it becomes a game, or if they're going to somehow develop a spatial version of it, like if what I'm thinking of basically is, you put your VR goggles on and say it's a movie about the Old West.
Yeah.
I don't know how they would do it because it would probably be a little disorienting, but you could like position yourself off to the side, like you're watching from one of the balconies of the saloon,
Yeah.
or like you're off to the side in the thing, and you could look around, and there would be other people, walking around you, and I don't know if this would be created in. Like a software like Unreal Engine, or if they would legitimately just have a 360 camera on set acting as you.
Yeah.
But if I had to guess, I'd say that's a pretty good guess as to where it might go.
Like a fully immersive VR movie experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be pretty cool.
And that's purely because I've dabbled with a little bit of VR and AR, and the Apple Vision Pro is becoming a really big deal. And then you have things like the Las Vegas Sphere.
Yeah.
That's a really big hit because of the pure, I think it's like 180 degrees screen or something.
I think it's bigger than that.
Whatever it happens to be, it's a concert venue, but I've seen a couple of pictures or videos where they're like displaying videos on it or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. Or like at Disney World or theme parks where you have, I just don't remember the name of the ride. It's like Fly High or something. But you're basically in this floating chair watching a massive TV screen in front of you, and the chair moves, and it's like a 4D experience.
Yeah.
Probably something like that, if I had to guess. I don't know what your guess would be.
I mean,
if you have one.
I don't know. That sounds pretty cool.
I think it'd be cool.
Well, like that is rooted in modern technology and kind of speculating how it could,
right.
continue.
And, there's likely to become some other thing. Maybe it's a hologram, so you get a 3D movie before the VR or something. I don't know. There's probably going to be some newfangled technology or something that's going to revolutionize the way we see media. People are going to make a cash grab on it. It's going to be stupid expensive for the first 5 years. Whatever.
Is the way it goes. But yeah, I could see it going that way for sure.
I think there's a lot of potential there for something really cool.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome, I think.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. If you did happen to like what you enjoyed, please follow or subscribe to whatever medium of podcast that you're listening to make sure that you don't miss any episodes.
Make sure to look for the poll down below that we're going to put in.
Oh, yeah. You got a Baby Yoda versus Grogu. We got to settle this. I have to know that I'm not the only one.
I think you're making a big deal out of it. But
I am
we'll
not.
See. We'll see. We'll see what our viewers say, all 5 of them.
So go prove me right in the poll below if you're listening on Spotify, and if not, comment down, leave a comment or something, show that I'm not crazy, even though Jake thinks I am.
Not crazy for that reason specifically. Don't take crazy.
Oh
off
yeah,
the
there's
table.
plenty of other reasons.
Yeah, there's plenty of other crazy
But
in there.
those are for future episodes for me to display my crazy.
Very crazy. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wait, don't go anywhere just yet. Stick around for some gag reels. Yeah. Ready? Clap sync. Woohoo!
Why do you hold your hands out like that?
Why do I hold them out?
Yeah, well, no, you do the clap sync and then you just...
It's just like
them
it's
there.
like a celebration. It's like a
Oh.
yay, clap sync.
Yeah, but it's just next time I celebrate, I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna hold my hands up.
Well, they're already up there.
It's like
so it just feels
freeze,
natural to leave them up
officer.
there.
It's
I wouldn't bring my hands up like that and just
yes,
do
but
this.
like you don't do anything. You don't like jazz hands or anything. It's just hands
Well, you
up.
gotta I clap and then I like wait and leave the silence and then I just continue leaving them up there because it's just whatever. And then I'm like, woohoo, jazz hands, clap, and like clap sync, and then all that. So then they're up there, so they're already celebrating.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like it's rolling. It's a moment that's changing and rolling into new things.
Gotcha.
Anyways, that's the clap sync gag for this one. Talking about
Yeah, there's always one in there.
yep, there's something about it.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening, tuning in. Yeah, great job, mate. Add it to the blooper reel. Okay.
You know me so well.
Think about it. Well, thanks so much again for listening. Tune in next time.
Bye.
That's awkward.
Yeah.
That sucked.
That was bad. You want me to do it? You've done.
Yeah,
you've done
you
the
do
rest
it.
of Okay.
I thanked them the first time. You get to close it out this time.
Well, thanks for listening. I shouldn't do well though. I don't know about well.
No, because we've already wrapped up the well. We already transitioned to the end.
Okay. I was about to say well again. It's like
Welp.
it was like
It's because
I
we're
could
like
feel it.
Southerners. It's like the meme where it's like anytime you're ready for someone to leave your house, you just slap your legs and go, Welp. I gotta get home. I got this to do. And it's like a universal signal to us Southerners that it's time to go.
Yeah, it's time to go. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Awesome.
Ta-da. All right.
We done.
Clap sync time.
Clap sync. Let's get it.
Jazz
And my hands are still in the air because that's weird apparently. I don't know.
Hey.
And we're done.